right, well, today we have on Mr. Greg Crowder. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great.
So I think I speak for both me and Ethan. It's an honor to have you on. We're sitting in your beautiful home right now. Thank you for inviting us.
Well, thank you for coming. I hate I was a little late getting here.
It's all good.
Things happen. We get it's a busy summer, so but we're glad to be here now. And we always start the same way. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hillsville, Virginia on Jet Street. I lived there all the way to the time I was 24, and I moved to Charlotte and moved back in 2008.
Where did you go to elementary school?
Went to Hillsville Elementary School.
And at that time, it was in the old building.
It was an old building. I walked to school. You know, most of the kids walked to school back then. They actually had a safety patrol and a little crossing guard lady. You know, usually a retired lady would be at each intersection, would stop the traffic for the kids to come by as they went to school.
Did you go to Woodlawn for intermediate school?
No, I went to Hillsville.
Hillsville. That's right. Okay.
You mentioned growing up. What did your parents do for work?
My parents, when I first started, my mom worked 3 days a week as a beautician, and my dad worked in North Carolina as a mechanic, heavy equipment mechanic.
And did you have any siblings?
No, they had me when they were real young, and it was about all they could stand.
I gotcha. So you said you went to Hillsville for intermediate school,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming you went to Carroll County High School.
Went to Carroll County High School.
For high school. Did you play sports when you were a kid, or can you talk about that?
Yeah, I played football, basketball, and track.
Okay.
And I didn't letter in basketball. I did in wrestling. I wrestled 195, but that meant I only got to wrestle twice a year when we went to North Carolina. And we had the heavyweight back in named Pat Beck, wrestled for the state championship twice. Come up a little short each time, but he lost to some pretty big guys. Tim Goad from Stewart, who played for the Patriots for years.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Sure, it's a tough
You
competition.
said you did track. Were you long distance or short distance?
No, I threw the disc and the shot put.
Okay.
And I went to the state and I got 8th in the state and shot put.
Okay, yeah. We both ran track.
We both ran track. We did long distance running.
Yeah.
I threw discus for, I think, one track meet, and I was terrible at it. So that's the only time I ever did it.
I ran the 440, but I didn't get out of the district with that. I won one event and that.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, the throwing events, they're hard. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of technique, a lot of strength.
It's all technique. It don't matter how strong you are. It's all about technique.
Yeah. Who was the head coach of the track team at that?
Gosh, what was his name? He was my neighbor. I picture his face in my mind. Gosh, I cannot remember his name now. That's awful. He's a good man. Real good guy. He lived right by, what's sad, he lived right below me, right in Hillsville.
Yeah.
It'll come to me in a second.
Gotcha. And you mentioned some other sports. You mind talking about those a little bit? Your
Football
experience
was
with
my
those?
game.
Okay.
That's what I was best at. I was, from the 9th grade on, I was fullback and defensive end. And I was runner-up New River Valley District as a defensive end.
I got
And we ran the wishbone offense back in. You know, I don't know if y'all know what that is. That's where they handle like Navy does, where they hardly ever throw it.
I got
And that's what we did back in. We won 4 games, something like it. You know, we played in the New River Valley District. It was really tough back then. You had Pulaski, Bradford, Christiansburg, all them. They were loaded in.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So we had a pretty tough time back in '82 and '83.
Yeah. Did you ever consider playing in college or anything?
No, I had several offers to go look, and I went, and then I decided that I was going to. I thought I wanted to be an auto mechanic and a diesel mechanic, and I went to work at a local garage and went there for a while and ended up joining the Navy.
So was that straight out of high school?
Yeah, I worked at B&B Tire for David Bays, and then I come back over and worked for Bobby Jett and done mechanic work. Finally, I started realizing, it wasn't hard work, but it wouldn't get you out a lot of places. And I started thinking, am I going to stay in Hillsville my whole life, or I'm going to get to see the world? So I joined the Navy and went everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what you hear a lot with the Navy. People joining.
Yeah, I highly recommend the Navy over any branch of service, because if you're in the Army, you might get a station in Nebraska, and the Air Force and the Marines, you get to go on the boat for 2 years out of your 4 years. But in the Navy, you get to go the whole time. Now you'll park in Norfolk or wherever for 6 months, but then you'll be gone for 12.
Yeah.
And
It's not good for married men, but for young guys, it's great.
And we can talk more about that in a second. But before we move on, as you look back at your time at Carroll Public Schools, was there an educator that really had a major effect on you?
Oh, yes. Two comes to mind quickly, and that would be Miss Golden.
Okay.
She lives on Edgewood Drive, off Edgewood Drive in Hillsville. And then Mr. Leon, what's Leon's last name? I can't remember, but he was an FFA teacher, and he was by the book and tough and good. He treated you like he was in the military. In the 10th and 11th grade, he was real rough on you, Leroy McGrady.
Yeah.
He was real tough on you. Then 12th grade, he built you up, and you was, butter didn't melt in your mouth. He loved you then, he petted you up. But them two teachers made a difference in my life.
We got to interview a few weeks ago. He was a teacher
Sam
at Carroll
Terry.
High School.
Who?
Sam Terry.
Sam Terry was real good too. I didn't take his class, but he had a good name back then.
Well, we've had the honor of speaking with him too, and he's talked about those days at Carroll High School, how the discipline was a lot different. Than
Oh yeah.
He says a lot more intensive.
Well, let me tell you, usually Leroy shirt collared the boys in the 10th and 11th grade, and I'm serious. I mean, he'd let you know real quick. I'll tell a little quick story about him. It was my 11th grade. The 10th grade, I had Mr. Combs, and I didn't have Leroy. Well, the first day of school, I don't know if you ever heard of Philip Hill, a good friend of mine.
I don't think so.
He's from out Fancy Gap. Well, me and him come in there, we're sitting there, and he just invites us out there and just has this awful look on his face. And he just grabs Philip by his shirt collar and just cusses him out and lets him know real quick, no BS in my room. And he looks over at me and he goes, "Football ain't going to keep you in my class like it does everywhere else." He said, "You're going to perform here, or you can get the H out." And he goes, "I mean it." And I said, "Okay, sir."
Yeah, Sam joked that he'd probably get fired nowadays or something.
Oh, you would. I saw it. Sam was like that. He was.
Yeah.
He was. By the way, I didn't have him, but he was a lot like Leroy.
He said he came right out of the Army and then started teaching.
Yeah.
So he said he still had that mentality
Yeah.
from the Army
Yeah.
coming to Carroll High School. So he said he was tough on the kids.
And it made us listen. I mean, now they have no discipline over there. I mean, if you try to, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But with them, he would let you. It was just like being in the military. After I went in the military, I realized that Mr. McGrady's classes was almost just like being in the military. He'd build you up. He'd tear you down, and then he'd start building you back up. Where Miss Golden, who I mentioned before, was just nothing but extremely caring and understanding, and was in your corner, and a great teacher.
Let's think back to your first day in the military, in boot camp. Do you remember how you felt?
It was awful.
Yeah.
I flew into Great Lakes, Illinois. I got there about 12 o'clock at night, and they made us sit there to 3 o'clock and made us take a cold shower. Just every one of us started taking a shower and then put us to bed and woke us up at 5 o'clock. Well, I didn't even go to sleep. I just laid there and kept flying garbage cans and cussing and throwing stuff, and it was rough. Back then, basic training was actually, they could put your hands on you then.
Yeah.
And that would, for me, that would have been 84 or 85, late 84 is when I went in. And they could still slap you and everything back then. That didn't stop till about 1990. But yeah, basic training was rough. They got your attention, and they knew when you got done, they knew what they had. They knew if you was going to be able to make it or not.
We've interviewed a few Navy veterans, and they all talked about the swimming test.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was quite funny in a way. That's one thing. I'm a great swimmer, and that's one of the things I did when I was in the Navy, is on the swim team. But the first thing they do, they just line you up and you're standing there. I don't know if this is in Great Lakes, Illinois, and there's a big ledge, and all of us are standing there. And the ledge, they got you over there in the ledge, and you're right at the pool, and it's about 15 foot of water. and they start making you jump in. First line, jump in, tread water, and they don't care who you are. I mean, the poor old boys that couldn't swim, it's always squalling and hollering. And they wouldn't just immediately jerk you out. I mean, they'd like let them drown for a while, then get them out, and like a big, big like a hook, and they'd reach down, grab them, pull them out of the water, and so you learn to swim pretty quick.
Yeah, I've heard that they actually teach people how to swim.
Right. Oh yeah, and they try to force you to swim.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I said, they didn't immediately just help you. I mean, they made you, because a lot of them would finally start swimming. Yeah, like I'd say half of them finally was able to swim over to the shore, because what it was on our ledge, it come out and then the pool went back under it. So when you went straight down, you wouldn't have to, you had to, come back about 10 more yards to get out. So, and they'd say, come on, get back. It'd be down there motioning for, come on, come on over here. And they'd be at the bottom up under that ledge trying to get them to coach them to come over. And if they made it that far, I said, you can swim now. Yeah. You just got to learn to swim a lot more.
Yeah.
Do you remember who your instructor was?
D'Amico. That's funny, I can remember him, ain't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Petty Officer D'Amico. They call punishment getting smashed. I mean, what that is, they make you do belly curls, push-ups, up and down. I was the first one to get smashed. It was a company. They don't call them, it's different than the military, than the Army. But in our company, I was the first one to get smashed because I lost my magic marker when we was putting our names on our shirts. What it actually was, somebody stole mine. And then I'm sitting there, I ain't got it. I said, sir, could I buy another marker? Mine's gone. He goes, certainly, Seaman Crowder, you can buy another one. Just hold on 1 second. He made me buy it with physical fitness. I mean, I went in about 235. For me, it was a little heavy then. And I done all that. Because what they'd do, they'd smash you till you literally couldn't move. They'd try to break your will. It went on about 30 minutes with me. And when he got done, he looked up at me. I got up. I'm standing there, I'm about to die, and I'm dry heaving, gagging. He goes, well, one good thing come out of this. I found my physical fitness PO. You're over physical fitness, Crowder. I'm like, oh God. I didn't know what that was, but it turned out that anybody that couldn't pass their physical fitness test had to go 30 minutes after supper when it was downtime. If you couldn't pass your physical fitness test as they started progressing through, then you had to come with me, and I had to teach them or try to do them, because before that, I'd come in there and I'd run. They just let us run. They don't do that. First time they let you run, they just turn you loose and let you run all around. And they just sit there and don't do nothing. But what it is, they're wanting you to run as a team, as a group. So I ran forever and ever and ever, and I was passing people. There's 90 of us, but I was coming around, even though, that's one thing, I had wheels. And as I was running hard around there, and I went on and on, I was determined that I was going to, do more. Yeah. And then he said, all right, guys, let's get it together. Now let's do it my way after all of us is about dead. And he said, let's do it our way, the Navy way. We're going to go together. We run arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder. They got over there and they ran us around. And we did that. And so he knew I was in real good shape. Yeah. So that's how, then they smashed me that next night. And that's how I become the PO.
It was like the first week?
Yeah, right the first week. And I was responsible for all them that immediately advanced me to E2. So it was worth it. Yeah. It's like he said, all right, as long as you keep this through the whole time, you're going to be E2, right? We're going to promote you to E2 right now. And like the R-Pod, that's the leader of they go to E3. And the vice R-Pod, they'll go to E2. There was about 5 different things that people done, and they get advanced. And I was lucky. And then you get where I spent that 20 minutes. I got 20 minutes later in the night that I could stay up. So if they said lights out at 9:30, I usually got to stay up till 10 as long as I had my light. Then at 10 they put you to bed.
Was there anything that you struggled with during your time?
In the Navy, no, it all comes so easy. I was one of the first people that went to what they call a A school for what I did. There's A schools for everything, but I tell you this complete accident. My buddy Mike Martin had went in before me, and he was an aviation machinist mate. That means that would make you get stationed in Norfolk, because that's where the aircraft carriers are. And you only worked when the planes is flying. Aviation machinist mates done too. They fueled the planes, and they drug them back and forth where they was going. That's it. They didn't work on them. They didn't do nothing. They just put the planes where they was going and fueled them. And when you're in port, they're off the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a aviation machinist mate. Well, I put when I requested, I put AMM. Mm-hmm. It's AVN for that. So I got to be a machinist mate, which that works in the bottom bilge of the boat where nobody wants to work at, on the turbines and making fresh water and all this stuff. And us at Mr. Crowder, we've honored your request. And we'll be going to a carrier in Norfolk. I'm like, yeah. And
Time to find out.
There wasn't no A in front of it. It was just MM.
Yeah.
I said, MM, what is it? Where's the A at for aviation? Oh, you're a machinist, mate. That's what you asked to be. And I thought, well, maybe I'll still be on that ship where he's at. He was on the John. I was on the John F. Ended up on the John F. Kennedy, and he ended up on the Abraham Lincoln, and the Theodore Roosevelt. That's when he was on. But we were sister. When he was at sea, I was at port. We crossed, but it was all right. I made friends right away. But make a long story short, that A school I went to, all this stuff's made the same. It's just bigger or smaller. Yeah. So when you work on something, it's just littler or bigger. Like the freshwater evap for these little ships ain't no bigger than that fireplace there. The evaps I was working, there was 8 of them. They're bigger than this house. Yeah, all evap is that sucks seawater up. It's like a steel, and that super hot steam in pipes go through it and boil it, and the pure water rises and the salt falls. H2O rises, salt falls out of it. Yeah. So I get there, and when you're there, they make a messenger out of it. That means you just go around and take temperatures. Have to go all over the damn boat because them shafts go all the way through the boat, and you have to go check the bearings on them big shafts, which is as big around as this living room. It turns the propellers. So I get there, and I'm doing that a couple of days. Well, that's another story I need to back up. I come home after A school, and I'm supposed to get 2 weeks off. And I get back, and I'm on my second day, and my phone rings, and I'm watching the news, and y'all probably way too young to remember it, but in Libya, in Libya, they started all that stuff with Colonel Gaddafi and all that stuff. And I got home and I had to leave 3 weeks, and I flew from here to Philadelphia, from Philadelphia to some mountains, Air Force Base in Italy, to Haifa, Israel, and got on the boat. And that's 3 days later, I'm over there, and we're, over there watching, and we hadn't attacked you. About 2 weeks later, I've been on the ship 2 weeks, and we blowed Libya out of the water. And they shot at them. The battleships were in front of us, and the planes landed and took off for 2 days straight, 48 hours around the clock. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, they leveled that place. But go back to when I got there, I come down there, and he said, I finally met the Master Chief, and he welcomed me aboard, and he goes, I see here you've been to the Machinist Mate A school that we just got up. And I said, yeah, and he goes, what do you know? I said, well, I understand this whole thing. He said, you do? I said, oh yeah, I know. They taught me everything about it. They got one that's just littler than this. We had one that's littler in the building, but it's the same thing. And they made us on a test on if we're on a carrier, what the pressures are and what the heat are, and we're on a battleship, because they had them classified up about 8 different sizes of boilers. Yeah. Well, I worked in number 2 machinery room, and we had 2 great big boilers and 4 turbines. The 4 turbines just worked on the one propeller. So I'm down there, and he goes, what do you know about the evaps? I said, I know everything about them. You do? I said, I know what they're made out of. I know, hey, if there's a hole, how to fix it. I know everything about it. He goes, okay. He goes, how much, what's the temperature of the superheated steam coming in? I said, 1,400 degrees. What pressure? I said, 850 pounds. What do you have to keep to make fresh water? And I said, you don't want to vary it at all. I said, because you do, it'll start cavitating like a steel, start popping.
Yeah.
I said, you got to keep it steady. And I said, you got to keep make sure the scoop at the bottom of the ship stays clean. I said, if it starts getting clogged, it'll burn it up. You know, because there ain't no water in it, so the steam will just burn it up. You'll burn the pipes of the copper. And he goes, do you know how to fill out this sheet? And it's where you take every 15 minutes, you write all this stuff down.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I know all. I said, do you know how to test the water? And I said, nope. I said, but I know who to give it to, because that was a trick question. We get the water every 4 hours, and they test it and make sure it's perfectly clean, which it is. But they were scared of sabotage. If somebody putting something in the water, getting in it, then it poison, and so they test it every 4 hours. And he goes, okay. He goes, we got a man that just got killed down here. And I didn't know it, but about a week before, they'd skipped protocol, took pipes apart with steam in it, and literally just slit his throat, but he didn't bleed. You know, the steam leak. And I said, really? I said, that's awful. But anyhow, make long story short, that's how I became an evap guy. I made fresh water and skipped. Usually it's like 4 years to get there. Because you start out as a messenger, then you start out just taking, keeping inventory of the pumps and changing the little tops out of it. To do the fresh water, that's a big deal. So I automatically went to E4, and then we went to Libya just 2 weeks later, and did that. And my first stint at sea ended up being, because then they had Lebanon had the teachers kidnapped right after that, over us doing that. So the guys that were with me had been over there over a year, and they normally never stay over 6 months at sea. And I ended up staying 8 months and come back. And, it was a great time in my life. We had fun all day, because I was on a ship. It was the last diesel ship. The others were nuclear. So you know what they wanted to do with that diesel ship. They wanted to park it. So they used us as an economic stimulus package for all these little towns we pulled in, and they would give us extra money. We couldn't come back with it. Yeah. You couldn't send that. They give us this because they wanted us to spend money in the town. So, we had a lot of port time and had a lot of fun. A lot of fun, and I went through that and enjoyed it, and it had my highs and lows in it, but when I was at sea, I loved it. I didn't like being in that port working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, never getting to leave. I didn't like that. And the other guys getting to leave, because I was in the belly of the ship. We had a lot of work to do when it stopped, where all them guys on the planes just left. They had to show up at what they call muster in the morning, and once they showed up, they went home. They just had to show up and go home. And here we are starting a 16-hour workday, taking that thing completely apart. But I got out of there, off that ship, and I worked concrete for a little while, and down in Norfolk. I took a job down there, stayed down, because a lot of my buddies are still in the service, and we had an apartment, and I stayed down there for about a year, and come back and up here, and I'm trying to think what year I was, probably 87 or 8, and I come back up here, and I was going to go to work for my dad. My dad owned a paving company, but I got a supervisor's job of all places at Consolidated Glass.
Okay.
And I was working third shift, and making $6.50 an hour back in when most people was making $3.50. So I was like, well, we'll see. And I got a girlfriend, and how that goes. I'm thinking, well, we're going to settle down, get married, whatever. But of course, that never happened. And me and my buddy went to see my grandma in South Carolina. And my granny, I had a real good Christian grandma and grandpa in South Carolina. And we just said, let's just go down and see them, see what they're doing. And we went down and spent a couple nights down there with them, and they'd always take us out to eat and all that. And so we got done, we come back, we didn't hardly have no money. And the boy's name's Lloyd Edwards. I don't know if y'all ever heard him. He runs my lot in Galax. We've been friends since we was 4 years old. And we just happened to be right in Charlotte, and his Ford Courier truck blowed up. I think I had $25 and he had 10. And I called my mom on the telephone, and this was in a real bad area. And it said hotel $108 a week. Well, we rent the hotel, and Lloyd goes, I think Gary Cravley is down here hanging drywall somewhere. Let's get a job with him. We'll get the truck fixed to get home. Yeah, we ain't got nowhere to be. Yeah. And I thought, well, that sounds good. Well, Lloyd was a real experienced drywall guy, and I hung steel off and on in between in, in the consolidated glass down here with the new building. I hung the steel in it, and the company that did that would only work every once in a while. That is all. So I thought, well, I'll try to hang some steel. Well, I got on putting the crown on the bank building in Charlotte. The crown on the big building down there.
Okay, yeah.
At 70 some stories up, and I got a job down there making $18 an hour. I thought, my gosh, this is awesome.
Is it the Bank of America?
Yeah,
building?
Bank of America building. Yeah, it's all marble and all. Yes. So I worked down there. Things is great. Worked about 4 weeks down there, making big money. But I knew I was about ready to run. I was the only Caucasian. The rest were American Indians, because they're the ones that love to hang out, that were what they call unbelted. That means you're working with nothing. There wasn't nothing to tie to. And I was the only guy there, but I'd done it. I'd never been sick that high up before, but that's something that's come natural to me. I don't know why, but it's never bothered me. I could walk on steel right from the first time I tried. Well, I got done there, and I'm out of work. Lloyd's still at work making good money, and I couldn't get him to hire me to do drywall because I didn't have no experience. Yeah. And they knew. That was one thing. Now I believe in hard work, and I was a good worker. If I worked for somebody, I gave them all. I gave it all I had. Well, we get down, and I'm sitting at the pool reading the newspaper. He said, because Lloyd goes, I'll pay the rent. We'll go to Washington. There's a big steel job up there, and there's drywall up there, and we'll go up there. You just hang out here. I'll pay the rent if you'll stay. Well, didn't have nothing to do. Didn't have nothing to go back to Hillsville. I'm just sitting, laying in the sun, reading the news. The Charlotte Observer would come out, and that thing would be about 3 inches thick. Paper. I get to reading it, looking. It said, car salesman needed, no experience necessary. Guaranteed $350 a week plus commission. And I thought, well, I've always thought I wanted to, because I've always been a collector. When I was a kid, I collected antique bottles. I collected this. I've always sold and bought cars and anything of value I bought and sold from the time I was just a kid. I'm talking about a young kid. And I thought, my dad and everybody's always told me that that's what I needed to get into. And I never forget, I went down there and interviewed, and the guy goes, we ain't got nothing, no sales jobs. I thought, well, hell, you just said you had it. And he goes, but I tell you what you can do, you can start, if you want to, you can go back here and work in the wash pit. I said, what's that? And he goes, that's where we wash our cars. We sell them, and we detail them, we wash them. I thought, man, that ain't bad. I'll do it. I said, I didn't even have a car. I'm still riding the bus in Charlotte. From all the way across town, we still live in the roughest, I could go on for days to tell you the stories about that hotel, the roughest hotel in Charlotte. I mean, shootings, you name it. We was living there. And finally, the owner, as an Indian man, moved us right up to we was right beside him. Yeah. Literally our room was right, and his house was ours. So that helped out a little bit, but still a real bad place. Yeah. So I started at the wash pit back there. I thought, wonder why they didn't hire me. I couldn't understand it. And so I'm back there in the wash pit, and I work there as all African Americans. I'm the only white guy there, and playing all that music and all that. I stayed right back there with them. I got to be buddies with them. Worked there about a week and a half. All of a sudden, one of the guys that does inspections got put in jail for direct DUI. And the guy they didn't have me working again. I'm a good mechanic, still am. And the guy that ran the service department, I done fixed some stuff for him after, because I had to get there at 7:30. Either I got there at 7:30 or 10:30, and we didn't start work till 8. So lots of times I'd help the service manager work on cars, and he knew I could work on cars already. Because you think you can inspect these cars? I said, yeah, I ain't got no, like, I ain't worried about you got the paperwork. If you'll do it and just fix what's on it, you can do it. So I went up there, I'll never forget, in the wash pit, they wasn't paying me much more. You know, it's paying a lot less than I got paid for steel. When I come up and started inspecting these cars, because it was just coming in truckload after truckload. And then the used cars, they trade them in. That's what I did that for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 on those odd numbers. Make a long story short, I come in on the bus and I started meeting the owner. And the owner was very standoffish. He's a very different guy, but very smart. And a real manly man. I mean, no BS, none. Very beyond anything I'd ever seen when it come to somebody of that statute. Well, I come in, there was this guy named out there, and he introduced himself to me. And he said, I sure would like to buy that white truck right there. And I just inspected it. And it was an older truck, back then it was a $3,300 truck. No, he had 1,000 in it. Yeah. And he said, what's he want for it? I said, he's wanting $3,200 for it. I got the key if you want to drive it. I let him drive it. And he comes back and goes, he goes, I got to get out of here. I said, salesman will be here at 9 o'clock. The service is getting ready to open. And I talked to Jake, as the guy that's over the service writer. I said, this man's committing to buy this truck. He's got the money. What should I do? And he goes, well, you need to go tell Lewis. Because Lewis F. Harrelson, that was the name, Harrelson Ford. And I go in there, I'm scared to death. He's sitting there, and he's big old, he's older than arms is like that dang big around me. He's a monster. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and he goes, yeah, what do you need? And I said, sir, guy's got the money here, and I'm new to get the money. Yeah. And I said, I've got everything but the tax and tag, and he's wanting to buy this truck. And I knew they had a pink card with it, because I had to put what was inspected on there and put that $35 on the back of it, what I charged to inspect it. So he looks at it, and he goes, well, that's good, Crowder. You got a $2,300 deal there. And I said, yes, sir. He goes, are you a salesman? I said, no, I'm the one that I started in the wash pit. I come in to be a salesman, sir. I said, but they couldn't use me. What? And I said, they couldn't use me. I said, but I'm inspecting cars right now. Yeah. And he goes, I wondered what in the hell you was doing. I said, well, yeah, that's what I do. And he goes, get that man in here. He goes, we got to learn to get these sorry, you know what's in here in the morning to work. And so he gets there. He runs the deal. And he pays me 25%. That's what you made of the profit. And I'm sitting there thinking, Lord, I made a lot of money this morning. And when I got done, he come back there and he goes, Bill Wynn, that's the guy that turned me down. Bill Wynn, get your ass in here. And he comes in there and Bill goes, yes, sir, what is it? And he goes, why didn't you hire this man? He's come in here and made $2,300 on his first deal and ain't even on the sales roster. And he goes, sir, he didn't have no socks on. And his shirt wouldn't tuck to him. And he looked over at me. I said, sir, I didn't have the suit. If I got the job, I'd have bought the suit. And he had a beautiful wife that's a lot younger than him. And she is sitting there. And he goes, Deborah? And she said, yes, sir. And he goes, take him right now and get him 3 suits, and he can pay me back. He can pay me back out of his commission as he can. So she took me over there and got me, I found an Armati suit, like a Goodwill. Yeah. It wasn't a Goodwill, but it's like a Goodwill. Mm-hmm. She had me 3 suits and everything. I think it's high dollar stuff, alligator shoes and everything, all of it under $500 because it's all out of the secondhand store. Got me up there, and my second week, I never relinquished Salesman of the Month for 2 years. 2 years I led the board, selling 30 to no less than 25. sometimes 35 cars a month, making unbelievable money. And me and Lloyd, I got Lloyd on in. Just a couple weeks later, I had him to come with the suit, so he hired him right away. Got him there, and me, just two old Hillsville boys with 35 salesmen. I would be first and second. He was good too, but he wouldn't work extra. Lloyd, he wanted to work. This is what he had to work. And it was it. I worked. I wanted to because I'd never seen money like that. My first year, just as a salesman, I made $68,000, and that's probably like $150 now. Yeah, and I went on and on with it there, and you kept me, like I said, for 2 years. Well, then he made me. All of a sudden, he comes to me and goes, "I'm making you used car manager." And I said, "I'm going to take a pay cut doing that," because I got up to making close to 80 that second year. I said, "I'll take a pay cut doing that." And he goes, "I hope you got enough sense to see the rainbow at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you don't." And I said, "Okay, I'll take it." This guy's I got stories of my own of him. This guy was extraordinary. He was a genius. And you'd never, ever, he had a cookie cutter situation, how to handle a situation pertaining to that situation every time. Never changed. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? It worked. But he was extreme. There's, when he died, he was probably worth $300-400 million. But
did being in the Navy help you with interacting with him? With his
because he is a Marine. He is a Marine boxer, and I was tough. I wouldn't. I stood my ground because there's a lot of shifting and conniving and backstabbing that went on, but you got 35 car salesmen and 35 mechanics, and it was close to 300 people worked there. A lot of the salesmen would have drug problems, and because they needed paid right now, and it's just how it is. It's still that way. But I stood my ground. There was a guy down there that had sued Mr. Harrelson, and he come up to me and let me. I'll make a long story short. I whipped his tail for him right there in the wash pit, and that's when I become his hero for sure. Because this guy was bad. I mean, all about this and that. Trying to find a way to sue him. Because he was very outspoken in how he thought about things. But I gained his trust, and he was real good to me, and he walked me all the way through the chairs, all the way up, and I become general manager of penciling deals. And about that time, just before I left there, me and Luann met by chance. Just by chance, my wife. And it was love at first sight.
How did y'all meet?
I sold her a car.
Okay.
And but make a long story, it took me forever. But I'd been bar hopping for about 4 years. Just going from one to another. It is like almost. I'm telling you, it's almost like being a rock star. Back we was on TV. Me and Lloyd was all the time. Doing commercials. Yeah. Playing different skits in the newspaper and on. And I can remember I was getting in my. I think I was like 26, 27, and I was really getting tired of drinking till 3 o'clock in the morning, coming in, not knowing, I don't know how to say it correctly, but just not realizing who I dated that week. Just like when they'd call, not knowing who I was talking to. Yeah. And I met her, and she was recently divorced and had kids, and all this, something I'd never had been around before. But I noticed, first of all, she was a godly woman and was a good woman. Something that I hadn't seen a whole lot down there of, And I fell in love with her, and we got married right at the end of my career there at Harrelson. But before I left, because I make a skip forward a little bit, I was meeting all these NASCAR drivers because Ford would give them cars, And I almost quit when Davey Allison got killed in '92, because I was dating Luann then, and they wanted us to come to work for them. And I mean, we were driving up to take the job, and Davey got killed just like 3 weeks later. Well, it put me back, and I thought about it. Well, I realized I was never going to get my own Ford dealership. I started realizing, because they wouldn't even give it to a white man, a white woman, or a black man could not get a Ford dealership. You had to be a black woman or an Indian or something, but not even a black man couldn't even get a Ford dealership in. So I realized I'd maxed out, but I had one more deal left in me with Mr. Harrelson. There was a Nissan store in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and they was having trouble, and he I can tell it now, he's dead and gone, but they were having trouble with it. I knew the store, and it was like a premium location. I mean, my God, I could think, how can they not be doing good? Because we all kept track of what everybody was doing. You get the numbers in, it's public knowledge, you can see it, and you can't hide it.
Yeah.
So we looked there, and he goes, that store's good, I could buy that store cheap. I said, well, buy it. He said, I don't know. He said, something's going on. I don't know if the traffic pattern ain't right or what, but I'd hate to buy that daggone thing and it not pan out. He goes, I'm going to fire you. We're going to put a big show on in there. I'm going to fire you. Because everything in the car business back then, even though we didn't have cell phones, we had the bag phones at the end, but even though we didn't have cell phones, you could find out what's happening to the other side of Charlotte in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, God, you hear what happened? It'd be all over Charlotte. Well, he goes, man, you're going to get in a big fight. And I said, yeah. I said, we are. I said, how much is that paying me? He goes, now I'm going to pay you $10,000 a month, and you're going to go down there. I know they just fired their general manager. And I said, okay. And he goes, I want you to go down there and you run it just like you would here, and tell them that's the only way you're going to take a job. But because I done got a reputation in, like that's Greg Crowder. He works there. He's the one selling $500 a month at Harrelson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's 20. He's just in his 20s. Be selling $500 a month. So I said, what are we gonna fight about? He goes, I'll just start cussing. You start cussing, then you say you're quitting, and I'll say you ain't quitting. You're fired. Get the hell off my property. I said, you think people's gonna believe it? Because me and him had done got tight, and he never got close to anybody. He did not, like, of course, when I say that, there are older men, and some of them had died while I was there that he was close to. Yeah. And I was the first younger guy that he had done that with, and he started trusting Lloyd a little bit. You'd have to know Lloyd, he's Eddie Haskell, So we get up there, and I walk out there, and he just starts throwing a fit. We cuss each other right on the floor, right in front of everybody, and all. And I slammed the door, and I went out there. And he called me on the bag phone. I picked it. He goes, you go down there and apply for that job now. He said, they'll know it before you get there. And I said, you think so? I said, that's Rock Hill. You think it will? He goes, they'll know it. So I walk in down there, and our Weldon Burns has Burns Nissan. And Weldon's an older man, smoked cigarettes one after another. I don't see how he lived as long as he did. He was sitting there, and I walked in. I said, Mr. Burns, I said, I heard that you need somebody at this Nissan store. Well, I do, Greg, but Lord God, what is you making up there? I said, it's over with. I said, I'll take a job lesser money if you'll just take care of me. And I said, I'd less stress. I don't want to have to work there. Well, Lewis is a hard man to work for. I done heard what happened. I thought, really, yeah. Oh, we'd love to have you. What have we got to do? And me and Luann had moved in together at Rock Hill then. I mean, in Fort Mill, which is about from Woodlawn to here. It wasn't far away at all. That's in between Charlotte and Rock Hill. So I went down there in the first month. They had been selling 30, 35. Never got to 40 in the last 2 years. He had bought it 2 years. But I'll back up. So I took the job. And I thought, why in the heck are they just selling 35, 40 cars here at this location? I mean, there's cars everywhere. It's just way more traffic than we had on South Boulevard in Charlotte. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Well, I talked to Weldon. He goes, well, you know, I've got all my men that growed up with me here, and he goes, we're getting in our 60s and 70s, and, you know, and we just, a lot of them don't like to use a computer and all, but we're damn good car men. Yeah, I don't know what it is, Greg, if you can just help us out. And I said, okay. So I settled with him on making 10% of the net. Yeah. In other words, what they netted a month, which at 30 cars wouldn't have been a whole lot, or $6,000, which for a general manager ain't a whole lot. But I'm collecting a 10 from Harrel's. Yeah. So I was like, it's okay, that's cool, that'll be good. You pay me the 10%. So I'll never forget it. We went that first month. Well, let me back up what happened first. So I come in to meet him, and I'm sitting in the daggone parking lot out there, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm waiting on Weldon to get there to introduce me as the new general manager. I'm sitting there, and Weldon comes out. Well, before he gets there, nobody waits on me. Nobody. I'm sitting there. You see him there playing cards. Big old heavy set men there playing cards, smoking cigarettes right in the showroom, which Mr. Harrelson would have killed you for that. Yeah. I mean, he'd have slapped you, and that ain't no joke. Because I used to dip snuff. I might have to, I will say a little cuss word here, it ain't bad, but I'll never forget, I dipped, he hated it. Yeah. You know, I dipped skull, and I'd spit in the trash can. And he was so tight that when he got somebody's phone number, he'd reach in the trash can and get a piece of paper and tear it off and write their number down. You know, he reached down and seen that spit, and he come out, he's in my office, he goes, whoever spit that in that garbage can is lower than Welsh, and that's at the bottom of the ocean. So that's how I was brought up. And, you know, you don't ever smoke. You don't, if you do chew, you hide it real good. So I'm sitting there, and Weldon comes in and goes, what do you think? I said, sir, I've been out here right at 30 minutes. And about that time, he goes, I said, ain't nobody waited on me. And he goes, well, let me go in the office and let me get everything straightened up, and then you come on in. Well, this young kid pulls in. And I think he's 22, 23 years old, pulls in, and he parks, and he rushes over there to me. Goes, how can I help you, sir? Is there anything I can do, or you want to drive anything? I said, no. I said, I'm probably going to be your new GM. And I said, but what's your name? And I got his name. His name is Craig. So I went in, and he come in there and sat down with, introduced me all. And I went back there and said, I want to ask you something. I said, now, you told me I was going to get to run this place like I want to, right? So he said, yes, sir. I said, you ain't second guessing me. You're going to let me have at least 3 months here to run it my way, not your way, because your way ain't working. And he said, well, to have you, we'll do it. And I said, everybody but Craig out here is fired. You're taking word. Oh, God, we can't do that. What are you going to do? I said, right now you're selling 30 cars a day. One man can handle it. I said, but that's going to change, but one man can handle it. And I said, if you don't want me, I said, I'm not, it's going to be war with this bunch. I said, because they're your friends. They don't think they have to do nothing. They didn't even wait on me after you got there. I said, so really, they don't respect you. He goes, you got a point there. He said, I'll take 2 of them to Chevrolet store, and I'll send one of them to Mazda, and there's 5 of them. Yeah. And he went there and told me, he said, y'all no longer have a job. It's Mr. Crowder's taking over. And you're coming here. He's starting with a fresh plate. And also, first thing I done is called Lloyd, my buddy. Yeah. I got Lloyd down there. I got James down there, James Strange. And I got a finance manager will make you or break you, because he can get the bad credit people financed. It's easier to make money on the back of the deal than it is front of the deal. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? They'll argue about the price for 30 minutes and pay 4% over prime and buy a warranty and everything on the back end. They fall right down for that. So there's a guy, and he was like, he come off as ultra-religious, and really he wasn't. And his name was John the Baptist. That's what I nicknamed him. So I brought John the Baptist down to be my finance manager. He come down, and John was awesome, I'm telling you. There's one thing I couldn't overcome. If somebody said, I got to go home and pray about it, I couldn't overcome that. I understand that. Then not John the Baptist, he whipped the Bible out and said, well, let's just pray together. Because he need this car and I need this sale. So, John the Baptist there, make a long story short, the first month, we sold every car on the lot about it. We was out of units. I done sold 92 cars. Made almost 200,000 in gross. That's 20 grand to me. And he come back and we'd call every week and turn our sales and profit in. Well, the service department still wasn't doing real good. I had a guy that, remember I told you I worked back there? Had a guy that was one of the best daggone mechanics in the country. And I called Lewis. I said, let me get, I said, they can't, they're sending everything to Charlotte. They're not fixing nothing. I said, let me get him down here, and at least we can start getting some, some of the bigger business back, and let him, you get some of the other guys in. Well, so I got the service department slowly started coming up. Well, the next month, we started getting cars, and it's scaring him to death because I started calling Nissan. Nissan was great then. They're hard. It's a hard to sell now. But I called the Nissan rep, and they couldn't believe it. They come down there and I said, I need cars. Because he just had 30-some cars ordered each month. Yeah. And right in that, the Nissan truck was almost like a Ranger. And they were awesome. Yeah. And they sold great. The Maxima sold great. The Altima sold great. And they were and what it was, Nissan was almost a spin-off from Ford. And that's when Ford had 9 of the best-selling cars. And Ford made the Mazdas and the Nissans. So we had a Mazda too. Well, I got the cars there next month. We sold 120, and we netted $245,000 in 1 month netted. And he was getting ready to have to write me a $24,000 check, and he come back and goes, "We're going to have to." I said, "Hold on a second. You weren't making a daggone dime. You wasn't even paying your daggone electricity bill hardly. You wasn't able to. You wasn't able to pay your help. You was having to take Chevrolet money to pay your office ladies." I said, "So you're wanting to cut me now? Because you really want to do that welding?" I just ain't never paid nobody. I don't pay my sons that much. They're half owners. And I said, "Well, all your sons was here," because I used to be a little bit arrogant. You know what I mean? I was, well, what it was, I'd been around Mr. Harrelson, who was just told you exactly what he didn't think, and he rubbed off on me. And I wanted to be him. You know what I mean? So I started being real rough. Like I said, "Where was they at? And you're selling 30 a month? Yeah. Do they deserve it just because you're your son, or do I deserve it? You deserve it." So I worked 1 more month. I sold 145. And Mr. Harrelson, I'll never forget, I got a phone call. Mr. said, "Oh God, what's going on? What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean? They ain't going to sell it now." "I ain't paying you. I heard what you was making," because I was getting that back in me too. I was taking all that money and banking it. Me and her just got married, and banking it up to start my business with the NASCAR. Yeah. And so he bought it. He ended up buying it, but he could have bought it for $2 million. Ended up having to pay $4 for it by waiting. He should have bought it the second month. I called and told him. I said, "You need to make it the second month and wait." I said, "You need to go ahead and buy it." I said, they've done made it. They done made $500,000 down here, Mr. Harrelson, in 2 months. They ain't made a dime in 2.5 years, however long it had it. Yeah. But he ended up buying it, and I come back and I got up there and I told him, I said, I'm going to work NASCAR." "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to work NASCAR and sell NASCAR souvenirs." And because I didn't have nothing left, and I was, what more could I do? And so I started my company called Polit. Me and Lynn named it, and got a tax license on it. Started off rough. We went to Daytona, the first race we did, and done great on our honeymoon. Yeah. On our honeymoon, she worked on her honeymoon. We worked on her honeymoon, and we had a rough year starting out with, and my dad supported me. Everybody, "Well, you gotta go back to car business." I said, "It'll always be there. I'm young. It'll be always." And they'd call me every day, want me to come back. Yeah. I get calls, phone mails, everything. People doing all good friends calling me, trying to get me to come back. But that first year we didn't do but about $300,000. I might have made $50,000, and I'm talking about working my tail off. Well, the second year I'll never forget, I was working. It's just like my business career is just like a story of pages and things always working out. I got up there and there's a place called Motorsports Traditions. That was Jeff Gordon's company when he first started in '94. And they had a couple other drivers, but they didn't. Yeah, Jeff Gordon was the guy. And there was a lady up there, and she was real tough, but she had to have yard sales on Saturdays. And I just go up there and buy stuff, out up for me to retail. Her name was Julia, and she was mean. And she come down there and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to buy this." She goes, "Didn't you work for Lewis Harrelson?" I said, "Yeah." "You was the one on TV." I said, "Yeah." "What the hell are you doing this for?" I said, "Because I maxed out in the car business. I'm trying to do something different." She goes, "All right." And she goes, "I got a lot of stuff I need to move." I said, "You do?" She goes, "I got all kind of stuff I need to move." I said, "Okay." And so she started selling me the closeouts. And I started going to the racetrack, and I jumped right from a little tent retailing to retailing and then wholesaling to all the other guys. And you could, with they close it out, you could almost double your money wholesaling to other people. And if you're retailing it, sometimes you get 4 times your money. Well, that went on for a little bit, and I started gaining ground quick. And then next thing you know, a guy from DEI, which Dale Earnhardt, called and said, they said you pay good. And see what happened, all the people before me would rip them off. Instead of working and staying in good standing, the first chance they got to rip them off and they get $100,000 worth of product, they just wouldn't ever come back. So I just moved right up the ladder. And so I went to DEI, they come there, some Dale Earnhardt stuff sold a lot better than Jordan stuff did, even though that was selling good then. And me and my wife said, "Well, we need to buy a warehouse."
What year did he die?
He died in
2001.
2001. This was about 96, 95, 96. Yeah, so I worked with him for a while. And so I get over there and we buy a warehouse. It's $110,000. Big step. Yeah, big step then. Because like she worked at the hospital. She made good money then compared to what, now she'd be making $80,000 comparison, because she made about 40. And she is able to pay the bills. I would have never made it through that first year. She hadn't been able to pay the house payment and all that. But she enabled me to weather the storm and get going. Well, we bought that warehouse down there. Next thing you know, they wanted a die-cast distributor to come. The ship comes up next, and that was when that was big. There was a lot of them then. There's about 12 of them. But I got a distributorship to sell the die-cast. So we went through all that, sold the die-cast, and just kept building. And, I'll never forget, we'd done $1 million in 97, sales. And that was real big. And there wasn't the astronomical numbers. That come later. But then we kept growing and kept growing, because them distributors starts going out of business. We'd gain our customers. The pie kept getting cut shorter and shorter and got bigger for the ones that was still there. And I'll never forget, we went to Daytona in 2001, and I just went to Action. That was Action Performance, is who this become. And I bought 36,000 124th Dale Earnhardt cars, different stuff that they closed out. And then as a distributor, the 64 Nova come out, the 2001 regular car come out, the 2008 there's all kind of stuff that just come out, and I got my standard order is about 2,000 pieces. And all that come in. So I'm sitting here with all this Earnhardt stuff. We go down and have a hell of a Daytona. Everything's great. I leave because we'd done so good. I went ahead and I left Sunday as soon as the race got ready to start. We was gone. It didn't stay for the blow off at the end yet. Didn't even stay. Just hit the road. Now I think I was coming into South Carolina, back up 95. And we was listening to race and radio, and turned down, all that happened, went down the line. Michael Waltrip wins, and Junior second, and everything. It was like big news. Oh, Earnhardt crashed over here. He held them off, what a great. I can't wait for Dale to get to victory lane. It was all like, yeah. That's cool, because Michael Waltrip, actually, the Napa was selling good then. So it was like we had another star coming along with Junior. And I got on up the road, and my phone rung. It was one of my real good buddies at DEI. And he goes, they think Dale's dead. I said, what? He said, yeah, they think Dale's dead. I said, really? Is he out of the car? He said, yeah, they take her driving down the road real slow. About that time my wife calls. She goes, something ain't right. They put blankets all over the car, and they driving real slow down there, just like it don't matter, and people's freaking out, and the announcers won't even talk about it. And I'm like, oh gosh, that can't be true. That can't be right. Because everybody's saying it didn't look that bad. The radio.
Yeah.
Well, he died. Of course, I got home and about 8. I got home at 8 o'clock at night. I didn't found out he had died. People were lining up at my warehouse around the buildings, beating on the doors. That's not down. I had to hire a cop down there to watch it, because I got that. Then we bought 2 of those warehouses. There's 4 of them. It's the same. We bought 1, and by then now we had 2. We ended up with all 4 of them. Well, we had done big. We got up to these done like $2 or $3 million a year then, and I'll never forget. We went to Rockingham, and we done almost $300,000 just at one race, and I had all that stuff, and it went on and on. We had our biggest year, $7 million that year, and it rolled and rolled. Things. We was on top. Then it went to 4 distributors, and we had 4 retail spots at every racetrack. We had some real good years, but the biggest year ever was in 2008. 2008, Junior changed from Budweiser to Amp, and Junior was still the cash cow. Yeah. So I was, by then now I got to where I could just drive up there and get whatever I wanted. I couldn't pull it or anything, but if I wanted it, I could have it.
Yeah.
And so we get up there, and we start that year out, and we go to Daytona, and between wholesale and retail, we do $590,000. I took 3 tractor and trailer loads of jackets to Las Vegas, a couple, I think it's the next race. It's close to the next. Yeah, it might have been the next race. Yeah. No, we had Atlanta, and I just wholesaled at Atlanta, but it was real good. And then we went to Las Vegas, went out there, and done 500 and some thousand. Make a long story short, that year in 2008, me and Luann done $15 million. We're on top of the world, right? Everything looks great. And I'm buying farms here, everywhere up here. It's just like money just coming in from every direction. So we think we're done. We'll be able to retire soon. I said, because I'll never forget. I told her, I said, I want to tell you something, girl. I said, NASCAR, in 2008, the rest of the world was in a deep recession. Yeah. I said, we're recession proof. Can you imagine if times were good now? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, you better be careful though next time. I said, yeah, we'll trim our ordering down, because you order that stuff, you're bonded. You have to take it, because you order it 6-7 months out, it comes in. Well, I cut it down. So you're right. I said, let's just sell out. We can, because there was real good years before that too. We had accumulated a lot. Yeah. And so let's just slow it down, and we'll be okay. We'll ease out of this and just get into real estate. Because I started, buying like I bought and sold the Love's property down here on Exit 1.
Okay.
We had done a lot of good deals and made good money on real estate. Bought the race in, it was mine. We did that. It was all during that same time. I bought the little store and built a big store, and did that, and built several log cabins. We was into real estate, and that was Luann's stuff. She didn't like she never liked NASCAR really, but she likes real estate. So, we're deciding we're going to go into that. Well, I ordered $7.5 million worth of stuff, and coming in, and that was about about what we had, and go to go to the first race at Daytona. We just done almost done over $500,000, and we do $38,000.
Yeah.
What had happened is NASCAR made all the sponsors back then, like Halliburton and all these billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
They had to buy 3,000, 5,000 tickets to every race and make somebody be there. And if somebody was there, they got their money back. You know what I'm saying? So these stands was artificially filled. People weren't buying tickets. I mean, they were there. There's people there, but they were not buying tickets. Most of them was free. But once people had to start paying for tickets, and we're in a major recession, we're in trouble. And we started burning through money and stuff coming in. We had warehouses full. We had to rent warehouses. We lived in Monroe, North Carolina then.
Yeah.
And we had to rent warehouses, inventory bulging. Went to Atlanta, done $15,000. I mean, my truck payments. I had took 3 tractor and trailers and big box trucks. I'm talking about the box trucks like our tractor and trailers on wheels. Yeah. Had 3 of those that went to every race. Man, I'm talking about dying.
Yeah.
Went to Bristol. Bristol come up with 3 retail tents and wholesale. Now, all these people that I got all this product, and they're taking it and not able to pay me. People I knowed forever going bankrupt one after another. Get a bankruptcy letter. Such and such filed bankruptcy on you, $80,000. This one after another. Well, before that year was over, I'm telling you, we were on the ropes. I mean, we were broke. Now, we had spent, because we kept paying like we were supposed to, but nothing coming in, just thinking, what are we going to do? The only thing that saved us was the company that was selling us the stuff went bankrupt first. So the river stopped, the charging stopped, but we were sitting there. We was able not to touch any of the real estate. We'd paid off as we'd went. We hadn't. Well, I'll take it back. We had sold like a couple, but we owned like 20 good pieces, and we had to sell a couple of them. So we're there. But the store, I got the new store now. The big marathon station in Hillsville. Yeah. And if we worked it real hard, we could do about, between us, my mama could make about 50,000, and me and Lynn could make about 100. So I thought, well, we're back where we started at. But we got all of our property still. And then we started having problems just paying the property taxes on all this stuff. I said, I'm not going to let it go in this recession. Because land went to nothing. You could buy a farm for $1,000 an acre. And back in the 90s and early 2000s, it's $2,000. So we're like, I'm not getting. We got to find a way to keep this open. Because the store would do pretty good. But like I said, no matter what the numbers were, because your gas going up and down, and all this, it would make about $150,000 out of it and pay the payment. Yeah. So we tread that for a while, and it gets close to 2015, and an opportunity come up. I had but a guy that had always made my event shirts for me. There's several pieces of the puzzle to the NASCAR. You got your apparel, you got your event shirts, you got your die cast, you got your trinkets. Yeah. The guy that made my event shirts for me had been in the print business his whole life, and I'd followed him wherever he went. And he said, Greg, I'm just so ready to get out. He goes, I got all these customers. Every time I go somewhere, they steal my customers and they get rid of me. Yeah. I said, really? I said, yeah, we need to put a stop to that. So I went ahead and started what was his Classic Creations. I owned half and he owned half. He didn't put nothing in. I put all the money up, which I didn't have a lot then, but I took a chance, Yeah. And that's another thing in business. You can't be scared to not take a chance. You got to make calculated guesses, but you're going to be wrong some, just like I was in this to start out with. I went in with this guy, and I didn't realize it, but he was, because this whole time, I only called him for a few minutes on the phone, and he'd been fired everywhere he worked at, and he's got me convinced that they're stealing these customers and getting rid of him, because he come out so nice and sweet. Well, to come to find out, he was a bona fide textbook covert arsonist. if you know what that is. I mean, they're dangerous. And I'm in business with him by the time I find it out, and the whole time he's trying to backstab me out the back door. And here we got our last $1 million invested in it, in that whole thing there. And I'm telling you, by the grace of God, we didn't go, because everything could happen, but it had to have been God, because we slipped through that and got out of it. And I ended up getting the guy over and ended up having to take it back over, me not knowing nothing about printing. I can sell a shirt, but I don't know nothing about printing. Met a guy, a good guy named Tom Gross out of Norfolk, who was with Nike. And he started realizing what was going on. He said, I got to have a place. He said, our place, and we've outgrown our place in Norfolk. And he said, if you can get it in your name, he goes, I'll give you the business. So, I mean, through hell and high water, we ended up getting, we had to sell race in to pay for this. I got great money out of race in, but I had to sell race in to keep from losing that. So, make a long story short, Tom come in and helped us. A straight up guy, one of the best men I've ever met in my life, because, most men like that, I've realized they get a lot of money and done real well, they're arrogant. Not Tom. Tom's a humble Christian man, never raised his voice, never talked down, never fussed. And if he didn't like what was going on, he'd just fire you. He didn't throw no fit or put on a picture, But so we got Nike in there and turned that place around, and I sold it for $6 million. Got us back to where we're. Then I do that, and I get back in the car business. So the car business, I got 3 lots now, and they do great. And we each one of them average about 20 a month, so I sell about 60 cars a month. And I still got my NASCAR, and it's good again. There ain't many vendors out there, but it's good again. I can't do them millions of dollars worth of wholesale, but I can go do about what I did at the track retail back then. There just ain't nobody to wholesale to. Yeah. So that's come back around, and we've fought our way, and me and my wife got back to where, of course, I'll be 60 here in a couple of weeks. I ain't got a lot of time to keep. I can't make another mistake, or don't need to roll the dice no more. But that's where it in a nutshell, from I was in my 20s up to here.
Yeah, that was comprehensive.
Yeah, so that's business 101 in a nutshell. Yeah. What can happen will happen, and you better be ready, and you better have a plan in case it does.
Now, I do have a question, because this will apply to me in a couple months. You're from Hillsville, small town. You moved to Charlotte, a big city. What was that like? Was it a hard adjustment?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, by being in the Navy in Norfolk, I'd got adjusted a little bit. Okay. But I'm telling you, when I went to Norfolk and had to be in the big cities, it was a shock. Yeah. You don't, the slow living here. But in Charlotte, it was almost like Hollywood. Mm-hmm. It never closes. Yeah. But being young and single, it was a great place.
Had a good time?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the fastest growing cities in America now.
Oh, when I went down there, it wasn't even like the same place.
Oh, yeah?
No, I just come back, noticed it. I had to come back through northern Charlotte on 85, and I could not believe the construction.
It's like the New York of the South.
It is, ain't it?
Massive.
Yeah, it's growing down. Them same car lots are killing it now. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're like Harrelson closed when he died. They closed, but they opened up down the road under a new name. The kid sold it, and we was doing $500 a month, which is unheard of, and they're doing $1,000 now. Yeah, they work 2 shifts. Yeah, these dealerships up here close at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yeah, they got 2 shifts there. They open at 9 and close at 12:30. Mm. Yeah.
So it's a whole different scene.
Yeah.
Definitely. Back in the early 2010s, you started your career into politics. You became the mayor of Hillsville.
Yeah. I can tell you how that happened.
Yeah.
It was actually 2012, but the situations happened in 2011. Okay. I'm over there building that store and spent a lot of money and built one of the nicest stores. Overbuilt. Mm-hmm. I knew it was overbuilt for what. I I got real good in convenience store business too.
Yeah.
And, but I wanted a store 10 dive-ins. You know, I wanted to be able to service my customers, and I wanted it to be nice. I wanted to have everything that you could have. I wanted that store to where it wasn't you know, it was competitive with the store anywhere.
Yeah.
If you notice the store, I took the fuel and modeled the fuel stations after a Wilco, because they was number one in fuel sales. Number one on your inside sales was a place called Wawa. I don't know if y'all ever heard of them.
I've heard of it, yeah.
They're from up north. Remember, I don't know if y'all remember or not, but I had the cash register up front to where that diamond was. I had the cash, where if you come in the doors, you had to walk by a bunch of stuff before you got to the cash register. You know, this new bunch moved it back here, and you know, they didn't understand, I don't guess, what I was doing, but it worked. And my deli was after Sheets, and it worked out great. It was it done real well. Matter of fact, a couple stores called Williams modeled their store after mine, made their store like mine. But to get back to politics, you know, that was a $2 million building, and I invested all in it, and had the next thing I know, they come over and said, "Look, we're thinking about putting a cigarette tax in Hillsville." And I'm like, "Why would you do that when everybody just drive side of town?" And I remember Ronnie Payne, I don't know if y'all ever heard that name or not, real shrewd businessman from back in the day. He goes, I'll put them little trailers up and sell cigarettes just outside town. They're talking about being $5 a carton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I thought, oh my God, I'm steaming mad. You know, you got to think through this. That's not what you want to do to your stores.
Yeah.
Not just me, but all of us. You know, remember, there's a bunch of them mad. Cochran's is mad. Mike Terman's mad. Everybody's mad. I went up there and talked to them. They treated me like dirt. I'm sitting there thinking, my God, I'm paying y'all a lot of taxes a year. Well, you know, they sent the police chief over, and he was a major smart butt to me over it. And then, you know, would come up there and made the comment, well, if you don't like it, you can run for mayor. I thought, I might just do that.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I come with another guy, because there's one guy in there that didn't like how things was going, and two of them that's real good men, but I don't think they quite knew what was going on. Because they was real good guys, turned out to be, and they're really honest guys, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't take long for us to figure out we were on the same page. And my first couple of years there was really, really tough. I mean, I was getting attacked from every angle. Had some charges brought against me that was a complete BS. I'm talking about, I mean, of course, I beat it, but you know, I had to go through it. I didn't beat it. It was just easy to see that it wasn't true.
And what year was that?
That would have been 2013, after I've been mayor a year. Okay. And, you know, I fought through it now. You know, I got last election, I got 90% of the vote. You know, I got 1,000 people to vote for me before I think before an election, most anybody had ever got was like 350 in a contested election.
Yeah.
You know, and this last time 1,000 voted, 900 some voted for me, because I still got some of them families that was in that original regime, and then there's people that we've made clean up their yards, and
Yeah.
you know, and I'm one of them. I get to side to my dad and me are junkards. I mean, we collect it, you know, everything. So I get letters myself and that, you know, but I understand, yeah, something has to be done.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you can go through, the mayorship is a part-time position, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How does that factor into your other businesses? And if you can talk about the duties of a mayor of Hillsville of running a small town, how does that?
Well, before, everybody thought the mayor was just a symbol, a status, you know, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I've not been that at all, and neither's none of my councilmen now. Before, you know, I was telling you about those two real good men, they really didn't know what was going on. You know, because it's like the town's going to get run, and y'all just come and have a 10-minute meeting, and it's over. You know, now we have 2-3 hour meetings very regularly. So, you know, we get in and out of there sometimes, but most time there's business on the table. And we're working extremely hard people don't know to bring what we brought in. I mean, we score out really bad when a company's looking at us. We got 3,000 people, 700 or 800 of them's on a fixed income. The average income's really low, and that's not nobody's fault. We don't look down on it. We're not. We just got to figure out how to get them numbers up a little bit. Getting that Tractor Supply over here, getting a first national retailer in is a big deal. There's a lot of things we can do. It's just it causes pain.
Yep.
You know, we need to annex people in to make the town bigger, and the people that's making money average in. You know, we've talked about that. Everybody's thrown it around, but you know, even if it was to cost me my office to get it done, I'd like to do it just for Hillsville's sake.
And what areas would you look at annexing?
Just
Okay.
out 58, of course. Oak Knoll, a lot of people in Oak Knoll would like to be in town. I'm sure some of them don't. So, you know, are we anywhere close to doing that? No, but would we like to? Yeah, I'd like for some of the, if we had Oak Knoll and out to the training center road and around it, it'd be great. You know, that the counties all got to agree on it, the towns got to agree on it, and we'd have to know that the citizens for the most part would want to be on it. You know, not every one of them, but the majority. We hadn't even got into that, but that would save Hillsville. And I've been here now 13 years, and I know there are some things I know. When I say that, I know the right answer. I know what to do to make the changes, and that's what needs to be done. Whether it ever happen or not, I don't know. I wouldn't have the control over it, but it really, that's a game changer if we do that. Just, you know, you never know. Your county supervisors would be under pressure. My town council would be under pressure. I'd be under tremendous pressure. But I'm willing to do it, you know, if the majority of the citizens want to do it. I wouldn't want to. Before I do that, I go talk to everybody and make a mark.
Yeah.
And see if it's 51%, let's do it. You know, if it's not, because that's how if you do the will of the people, you know, and then sometimes it's up to us to lead them and show them what they need, you know, so they got the whole story. But, you know, that's something that a lot of people want to avoid. And again, it's not close to happening, but I'd like for people to start working on talking about, because, you know, they're real quick to be on Facebook what they want and what they need. I'd like to see this. Well, it takes some pain to get there. And our taxes, you wouldn't pay no more county, and you'd pay about 25% more just to the town. You'd add 25% to your taxes, but you'd have free trash pickup. That's $30 a month for a lot of people. But some places, $50 a month.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you start thinking a $150,000 house is going to be about $400 a year. Now, the difference in that when somebody scores Hillsville out, average income and population is astronomically different. And all of a sudden, we qualify for some of this crazy stuff that people are saying, I'd like to see. All of a sudden, it become real.
Yeah. Me and Ethan are on the litter task force for the county.
Yeah.
So that's a big conversation, is trash pickup.
Right.
County-wide trash pickup. That's a huge conversation right now about if that's possible, if, you know, how they would implement that.
The Friends of Hillsville did it in town, and they do it once a year still. And when we do it, we pick up like 200 or 300 bags of garbage, you know, on a Saturday. You know, we just get out and get in different places, and you know, and it makes a big difference. But within a month or two, it's right back.
Yeah.
People, that's, you know, and littering's a choice. You know, that's a choice. It ain't something that's got to happen. You know, I litter in my car. You know what I'm talking about? I'd go out there now. My truck, there's probably all kind of wrappers and empty water bottles and everything in the back. And I'll go clean it up, but it ain't on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the topic of annexation, I believe the town has a section of 77 that they can police. Was that implemented while you were in office or beforehand?
No, they had it. When I got there, we were $1 million in a hole.
Yeah. I read that you had to take the water and sewage system because it was in the hole and you brought it back.
So what we did, of course immediately went on that. There's a lot of things we did that was like leach. I don't know if you ever know what that is. When you do sewer in the bottom of it, it's called leach. It's extremely high bacteria. We was just throwing it away. We didn't know it was extremely valuable for landfills because it eats. You put it on the garbage and it just eats it up. Like I said, so it would kill you instantly. That's why you cannot touch it. Right. You know, so we'd take it on a truck and we was just throwing it away. Well, landfill pays big money for it. We didn't know it. We was just throwing ours away. They was buying it. Here the county didn't talk. County and town didn't talk. You know, at that time. Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to add. That I'm really glad when I got there, the county and town would not even speak to each other. I mean, there's a war. And it took about 2 years to get that turned around, and we got a great working relationship with them. Like, you know, I can call about any of the supervisors, and it's good cordial, and they're positive, and we're positive. Any of my town councilman can call, and it's a good phone call, and you know they want the best for us, and they hurt themselves to help us, and we do them. Yeah. But that leach was the first thing that we did to start turning our budget around, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in. You know, there's a lot of things we could do to tighten up, and we got it down to where we're still losing $500,000 a year. Because what happened was the town built a water and sewer system for the county to join in together. And the county backed out, and I can't blame it on the county, and really can't blame it on the town because they fought. It's like Trump said the other day, I'll tell you, these two have been fighting so long, they don't know what in the heck they're doing. You know, well, that's exactly how the county and the town were. So I can't say who was at fault, you know, but, you know, the town tried and the county tried, and make a long story short, you know, the town built a sewer system down there that was big enough for the whole county. And it cost millions of dollars, and they had that debt. And they weren't getting the sewage to pay for it. You know, they started pumping the sewage back to Galax. There's still sewage being pumped to Galax, but they've turned a lot of it around to us. Yeah. You know, they couldn't, the contract, they couldn't stop it. So we're getting exit 8 and 14. And then once you get, I think, to Harmon's, I'm not sure, but somewhere right in there, it starts going up to Galax still. You know, it's just more, it's not economically good, and you can't do that to Galax. You know, you can't just take it all when they've been having it too, because they've learned to budget it in. So we all worked through that. But as far as you're talking about the 1 mile, that's on 77. Yeah, we the town had never been out there, and I'm just going to say there's several reasons why we need to be there. But when I'm asked about it, I say I don't want my family pulling out on that exit with cars going by 110, 120, among other reasons. But that's my number one reason, with other benefits.
Sure. Absolutely. So you're also, the mayor is over the purview of the police department. Can you talk about your relationship with the Hillsville PD?
Yeah, we got Shannon Goad, and Shannon's probably one of the best police chiefs. Like I always say, in Hillsville, we need half Matt Dillon and half Andy Taylor. And Shannon can go talk an old person out of depression, or he can go in and kick a door down and arrest a dope dealer. He can do it both. And, you know, what I like is his kindness. I mean, a lot of them can kick that door in, but his kindness to the citizens is what I like. And we've got our officers, we got about the same. We got aging officers, but every officer we got is pretty good guys. You know, they're different. Just, you know, one of them's great in this area, one of them's great in this area, and then, you know, they're doing well. We don't have hardly any complaints from them. Like the police department in most towns is the sore subject. We rarely get any complaints. Most of the time we get a complaint, it's because somebody got a speeding ticket. And we don't write very many speeding tickets in town. We write a ton of warning tickets in town. write a lot of tickets on the interstate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you can put all that together.
Absolutely.
So I believe this is your 7th term as mayor.
Yeah, I've been there 13 and a half years, I think.
How much longer do you think you're going to keep running?
As long as my health will let me.
Yeah.
You know, as long as my health will let me. But the biggest thing, as long as I'm making a difference, I still got to drive.
Yeah. You still enjoy it?
Yeah, I still got to drive and I've watched, and what gives me that drive is what happens in government takes so much longer in my business. Like, I can just pick up that phone in my business and say, do this, 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 and this, and get it done, and I want this done by next week. Hang the phone up. When government, the same job might take 8 months, a year. Because it has to go to Richmond, it has to come, all this stuff, and then you have to get grants, and then you don't know what you're getting. But I can tell you that this is something I'm real proud of. For a town our size, we got more grants than anybody in Virginia, and we're getting, I'll tell you this because it's something I'm proud of, and I'm proud of them. When we hired our town manager back, I hired 2 22-year-olds. I hired Retta Jackson. I don't know if y'all ever got to know Retta. And I hired Leanne. And Leanne was unanimous. Everybody voted for Leanne. 3 voted for Retta. And Retta's father is Travis Jackson, who was over the FDA of Virginia. At one time, he'd retired down, but still worked. He's the one who brought the suitcases of cash everywhere. Retta just had graduated. Well, everybody, that's it. They're going to fail now. Crowder's did it now. Look at these. He's hired 2 kids. Well, what I know, what Ford taught me years ago, don't hire the old men. They're just bouncing around. They're just beating in time. Yeah. The middle guys are job shopping, just like I did. The guys middle-aged are job. Get the young ones, they'll stay for a while. Well, Retta stayed for almost 8 years and done a wonderful job. Meanwhile, we got Leanna in as treasurer, and it was treasurer of the year, and I don't know what all. I mean, just numerous awards. And now that she's got to be the town manager, she's took it and run and even better than Retta. When I say that, Retta was so honest and didn't just wanted to be right on everything. Lynn will take a bull by the horns and fight. You know what I'm saying? And not, Retta's in Christiansburg now, the big time job doing great. I'm not downplaying Retta at all. That might not have come out good how I said it, because Retta was probably the number 2 town manager in Southwest Virginia. Just our treasurer was the better one. Yeah. If that makes sense. I hired 2 of the best people. Like I said, the end was a unanimous hire. After I hired Retta, we all agreed on Leanna. And but Retta was 3-2. But everybody, when she left, it broke all of our hearts. But Leanne come right in and has done great.
Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with the town council, your personal relationship with them?
Yeah, like when we first started, the 2 that was there before, there's a little bit of friction.
Sure.
But they're real professional.
Yeah.
They ain't redneck like I am. I'm a redneck still. And we didn't really bump heads. We just kind of existed for a little bit. Then we started realizing, I started realizing I knew Greg Yonts my whole life. I know Greg. I didn't really know Ed Terry that good. He was a little bit older than me. We played on the same football team and all, but I really didn't know him. And I got to know him, and I really like Ed. I like Greg Yonts, but I really like Ed Terry too. And the more we talked, the more we seen we wanted the same thing. And he realized I wanted what's best for Hills. I might go about it different than he would, and I realized the same thing about him. And they come around to Greg Yonts. We all work good together. David Young come with me when he come in. That's who come in with me to get majority of the council, and we've always been great friends. And then Bill, the guy that I ended up beating for mayor, Bill Tate, he come back and ended up me and him being great friends. Able to get through it and all. And when Barry beat him, you know, I was a little sad at first because I got to like Bill, but Barry's done a great job too. You know, so we all do different stuff. Like Dave's, he's always looking for litter and yards messed up. Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, that's just him. That's very important because we want him to look attractive to anybody that comes in. Then, you know, Greg Yance he knows the town codes like the back of his hand. You know, he goes in VL meetings and all that stuff. He knows all that. And Ed Terry's the reasoning guy. He's the guy that, you know, I'll come in, you know, let's do this, and this, and we got to do. I'll have a yard. He goes, let's slow down. Let's just slow down.
Think about it.
Let's just get this over here done. We'll get to this. I think you're right, but we just got to concentrate on one thing at a time, Mayor.
Yeah.
You know, so he's that guy. He's a voice of reason, and I call him the principal. Yeah, because I respect him enough to listen. I respect all of them enough to listen, but I really, when me and Ed talk, sometimes I look at him as a higher calling even, if I'm saying that correctly. You know, I really respect what he's got to say. And then Barry Jessup, you know, he watches all the paperwork, everything coming in and out. You know, if you're one of these department heads, you better not spend too much money on something because he will see it and he'll call it out. So it keeps it all going. But we're kind of an all-star team. Like Derek Mays, our water guy. Do y'all know Derek?
I don't think so. No.
He's one of a kind. He's probably the best at water and sewer treatment that there are, and he's young, and he teaches all the classes, and we're so lucky to have him. But again, we still got that great big sewer plant down there running one pod. Got 3.
Yeah.
You know, so that's still. But we got it paid off now.
So do you have to live within town limits to run for mayor or town council?
Yeah. You in residence is a place. It's what's in your mind. I got 8 houses in Hillsville.
Yeah. I
got an apartment at my warehouse. Stay there 20 times, 30 times a year.
Yeah. And you know, based off is there districts in Hillsville, the town?
Yeah, the wards.
So the wards. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's not very well widely known among the broader county.
Yeah.
Can you explain the ward situation in Hillsville?
Is it kind of like the districts of the county?
You're right. It's very confusing for like when we're trying to help somebody with the county. We don't know where their lines are.
Yeah.
But ours changes every few years.
Okay.
But we got 4 of them, and you know, different ones. But we know where they are, and that's 1 for each councilman. And then I have to run in all of them.
And then do you have an at-large councilman too?
No, we don't.
Okay.
They have at-large supervisor.
Yeah. It's Greg Crowder right now.
You see, I'm the mayor. That's my.
You're the at-large.
Yeah, I'm the at-large.
Okay.
And then with them, they got to 4. They got to 4, and then they got the at-large, and they take turns being the head supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a different setup than the county.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really well known, but it is interesting to see how that plays out.
I do have a question. One of the biggest events of the year is the flea markets, the Labor Day, Memorial Day flea market. Can you talk a little about the preparation for those events?
And the importance of it to the town?
Yeah.
It's very important. It really helps our hotels and our restaurants. It is something that's dying everywhere is outdoor flea market events, because 2 different things. Well, for us, it's 3 different, but for the others, guns, you can't sell them hardly.
No.
You know, back when I was a kid, people walked around. Everybody in the world had a gun on them, or walking and carrying on, and they've done that in.
Yeah.
You got, for the people that still collect, you got eBay and other websites.
Yeah.
You know, there's, like I told you, I was into soda bottles and liquor bottles, stuff that I'd never seen in my life. Just heard about them. Once eBay come up, wanted to come up for sale, I once you'd see them.
Yeah.
You know, talking about this eliminate stuff that was super rare become rare, and stuff that was rare become semi-rare. Because all of a sudden it's all tied together. So eBay, you're not going to get people out there walking around because they can buy off eBay and sell on eBay. And then the next thing is something we can't change. Younger people don't collect. When I was a kid, you collect baseball cards, you collect old bottle, you collect all kinds of things. There's Boy Scout stuff. All the kids don't collect no more. You know, my grandson does. I feel fortunate about that. But most kids don't collect, which means smaller crowds. And at the flea market, now to the stands of antiques and all this stuff, all you've got is a bunch of low-priced merchandise. You know, stuff for women, dresses. You know, all kind. Well, you know, y'all go.
Yeah.
It's this low price. They try to sell stuff cheap, turn the business, and you can't sell but so much of that.
Yeah.
Have you seen a resurgence in its popularity since COVID?
Yeah, it's definitely come back. COVID about killed it.
Yeah.
Everything at
Yeah.
the races, my outside races, and all. It really affected it, any kind of business. I don't care what you're selling, but it's coming back now. We've had a real good year in NASCAR this year so far.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another event that we want to discuss was the second Saturday concert series. And Cruise In. That's always something I've always enjoyed going to. And that's initially how I first, I think, met you, was that second Saturday. Can you talk about that event? And the
Yeah,
importance of it?
that's something that the old council had started. We just took it and went forward with it. We, you know, got work because we could work with the county. We got that lot up there to move it to where we could grow it.
Yeah.
And we started getting a bigger budget for better bands. And yeah, they'd have one killer band a year, then a bunch of small ones. Yeah, we have real good bands in every concert. Now we have a couple. This year we're having the killer bands and, you know, across the board. And we started the pre-concert, you know, for locals
Yeah.
to come up and play. And, you know, if they'll play for a couple $100 or something, we let them play. We've had some really good bands there, but the Friends of Hillsville started that. I was a chairman of Friends of Hillsville till just about 6 months ago, and I finally stepped down because them people were working their tails off, and I wasn't hardly ever there because I had so much going on. I got the racetracks, I got the cars. You got to go to cars because buying cars today, and I can't stop doing that, you know. And then they'd have the meetings, and I wouldn't be there. And a couple of the girls had really worked hard at it, so I stepped, after 12 and a half years, I stepped down.
And,
Friends of Hills is a great thing. It's another thing that started when I got to be mayor.
and Jennifer Sowers she's on the Friends of Hillsville board.
Yeah, she's
isn't
the chief now.
Yeah, she's pretty active.
She's very good. She's extremely educated.
And she's on the school board too, and she
Yeah,
does
she
a
is.
lot of good there too.
Yeah, she's a super good person.
Yeah, I was looking at to receive the Friends of Hillsville scholarship, and they do a lot of good stuff, really help out
Yeah.
students and stuff. And I was able to buy some books with it, and just, you know, helping young people.
Yeah, we spend, I shouldn't say we now, but the Friends of Hillsville spends about, well, they make a lot of money. You know, it's a bit like I set that up as a business. When I set it up, I was, you know, me and Keith Andrews and I think Laura Beth Purnell. There's about 4 of us, a couple other people, and I set it up as a business to make money, to give money.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, we did a lot of real good stuff with it.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of stuff that don't get seen that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we're approaching the 2-hour mark, is there any questions that we haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about?
I gave you my business story. Gave you the Hillsville. I'd like to talk about my daughters. I had to say, and to be truthful, when the younger I was, business was my thing. You know, I loved my wife, I loved my daughters and all, but I didn't. I was gone all the time. And as I got older, I wished I could have changed some of that because they growed up on me before I knew it. You know, and I was always there for them, and they got, you know, they lived good and got what they wanted. But a dad that was gone at one time, I was gone 40 weeks a year, and you know, that's something I wished I could change. And but I got 2 daughters. Luann's got 3 that are just unbelievable kids. Her oldest son, he runs all the electrical dams down in North Carolina on the Cadaba River. And her first daughter, she's a big wig at the doctor's office and all. Then her youngest daughter she's in the school system. She was one that looks, and I'm not. She got a husband that's a park ranger, so she said, look, I just want to be a school teacher my whole life. I want to do as good as I can at it. So she's went up. She's be a principal soon. And my two daughters, she's got hers, them, and ours, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I had one daughter before I met Luann, and she's done unbelievably well. She lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's started in the real estate. She got married, moved out there. Her and her little college sweetheart, she got pregnant, moved out there and got married. And they were real big in business out there. My in-laws were, and so she moved out there, but she didn't work there long. Got into finance and real estate, and she's got all the way till she got a company. She's the #1 female agent in the state of Arizona.
Wow.
And then my youngest daughter, she's the exact opposite. She's like, I'm not going to work my whole life. I want to enjoy it. But heck, she's doing great. She works for an insurance company and does a lot of the planning and the hiring and stuff for a major insurance company, and then planning parties, all kinds of. Because she went to High Point down here and got a degree in like Facebook and stuff like that to work on all that stuff that they do and plan stuff. But she ended up doing. She's making good money. She's pregnant, getting ready to have a kid, little boy. And I got a grandson. Courtney's got a Tucker Joe. Me and him fish all the time. He's something
I was about to ask, you're a grandfather too.
Yeah.
How is that different than being a father?
Way different. Yeah. Like he's getting the best of me. They got the worst of me. You know what I say? They, me being gone all the time, worried on the phone 24 hours a day and stuff. But with him, I make time with him, and he's something else. He'll be 11. He's going to be a super athlete. I mean, he takes after me in every way, and physical. I mean, he's extremely strong, extremely fast, but the difference in him, he's a great student. I was an awful student. I sit and schemed about what I was going to do, what I was going to buy or sell. That's all I thought about from the time I was a kid. Up in school, I loved FFA and all that, but if it wasn't in agriculture or something, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I just didn't care about it. Now he's a good student, which I'm so thankful for. Both of my daughters are great students. I certainly wasn't. Yeah, Greg Yance was in my class. He was a hell of a student. I think back on it, but they're so that my grandkids. And then Luann's son's got a son that his name's Jacob. He's an officer in the military now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think I hate that he's so successful because I ain't got nobody to take all this over. Not unless my new son-in-laws speaked into it for my youngest daughter spoke. I think he might be able to. I don't know if Morgan will let him after because she knows what it is.
Your wife, before you came, was showing us all your pictures of your beautiful family, so she's kind of telling us about them all.
Yeah, look at my mom up there. She's almost 80 years old and looks about 20. That's my grandson standing beside of me, the one I've been talking about. Mm-hmm, yeah. That's my oldest daughter, and that's my mom behind her.
Yeah. It's a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, I am. You do something right,
Yeah.
But yeah, we're a good family. Yeah. And that's my dad all the way on the right. Right there, it's cut off, that's my dad. Mm-hmm. Now my dad, that's a whole nother story. He's the type that never gets upset about anything. Just goes with the flow. And he started a paving. I talked to him into starting a paving company because he had worked for himself, and that's before I ever owned anything. Yeah. I said, "Why are you doing this for somebody? You know how to do it. Why are you doing this for somebody else?" Yeah. And they got to thinking about it. Him and another guy went into business. They had a good long run, and both of them got. They never hired nobody. They both of them got in their 60s, and they couldn't no longer shovel that asphalt in the 100-degree weather. They sold it and done real good. He done real well with it.
If your family's listened to this, your grandkids in 50 years, what do you want to tell them?
I'm proud of them. That'd be of every one of them. Every one of them kids are very good kids. And they got a good grandma. She's put up a lot with me. I'm telling you, when I say that, you know, somebody traveling like I do, it's for a woman to stay low with all that money at her fingertips and not one dime of it ever gone, you know. You think about that, and them kids are the same way.
Who's your best friend?
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we, you know, as we get older, it don't seem like it, but she is.
Yeah.
And my mama's boy still too. You know, I love my mama. Love my daddy too, but my mama's just always been there. She'd always want me to do the right thing.
As you look back at your life now, you have a lot more planned, but as you look back, what are you most proud of? And if you could take back one thing and change it, what would you change?
Well, I think the one thing I'd change, I'd hate that I left, that I stayed gone so much. Because, you know, chasing racing's what it's called. And, you know, one thing when you get my age, you realize that money, that farm, that car, that don't mean nothing. I'm serious, you'll get to that point. You know, when you're young, you don't ever see that. But when you're older, you realize that ain't where it's at. You know, if I could take back, I'd like to spend more time with both my daughters and Lou Ann's kids. I mean, I was just a figment of their imagination. I come through my suitcase on Tuesday evening and left Wednesday night. So, if I was lucky, sometimes I didn't come home because you had to be set up at the race by Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it takes you to Monday to get packed up. And you might be driving, you know, from Bristol to Texas, you know, because to Pocono, you know, get this back and forth. And I've got tractor and trailers running stuff to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had to be there so much daggone money, cash. You know, it's, you know, when you make money like that, there's all kind of rumors and stuff being said and all, you know, but they always say, well, I wonder if he's a dope dealer. And I said, there ain't that much money in dope. Because it was unreal when it was rolling.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's still good. It's, you know, we still do real good with it. We just had a great Talladega and Bristol this year already. Yeah. And a great Michigan just a few weeks ago. Yeah. But it used to be out there, man. It was unreal out there at that NASCAR tracks. It was like Animal House every weekend. I mean, they party, you know, they'd be partying Thursday night and not stop till Monday morning. We used to not close hardly. Yeah. We'd stay open around the clock, and I'd usually sleep in the mornings. I'd go to sleep about 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep till about 11 or 12 when it started heating back up. Because they'd spend money all night long. And then from about 3 o'clock in the morning, or 2:30 or so, I'd restock for the next morning. But yeah, it's been a ride. Yeah, like I said, I'll be 60 in a couple. Yeah, the 12th of July. I think
Couple
maybe
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
2 weeks, something like
and,
that.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah.
yeah, I burnt the candle at both ends. I got a little kidney trouble, so yeah, I hadn't got out of it unscathed.
If there's someone, Luke or my age, who's wanting to have a career in business, what advice would you give them?
You can be anything you want to be. I promise you, if you want it bad enough. And all you got, whatever you're doing, you got to know what you're doing. You know, because if somebody else will, and they'll take what you got, you know, business-wise.
Yep.
But you can be anything you want to be. And if you work hard enough, you'll always be able to do it. And I'll say something, if you get beat to the ground, don't quit. I'm telling you, me and her wanted to quit 2 or 3 different times. Like in '09, I was almost ready to just go back to the car business. And I had them call and beg. But we didn't. I'm glad I didn't. Because that would have hurt my mother, and that would have hurt us too. But yeah, you just can't give up, and you got to be dedicated. That's the thing. And there's a price to being dedicated. Like I'm telling you, some of my regrets is because I was so dedicated. I mean, I went at it. You know, I was scared of failure. And then everybody said, why have you wanted? It looks like you've wanted everything you've done. I said, I'm scared to death to fail. I'm talking about really, not just saying that. I mean, and when you're scared, you'll work. And there's one other thing I'll say. You can do a lot of things, but if I'm into something, you won't outwork me. That's one thing you got control of, how hard you work. That's the only thing you got control of, is how hard you work. And that's something that usually wins. Yeah. I can promise you that. That usually will beat any other scenario that you're facing if you'll just keep working. Because we could easily lay down in 2009. You know, we could easily lay down again in 2015. Yeah. But we just kept working. We worked through it, and you know, piles of poop turned to chocolate pie. You know, and I still out. That's so under talked about. You can control your own destiny to a degree. Yeah, you can. And you're going to make mistakes, and you can't give up. And then if you want something, you got to try, or you got to push to get it. You know, a lot of people, this is something too that's real, that happens a lot. I meet people, and they'd have these plans, and these plans were killer, but they'd never implement them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like me, that's what I say, I need Ed Terry so bad. At the council, by God, I start talking about it, I'm getting ready to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you better talk me off the ledge, because we're getting ready to go. You know, let's slow down, get this right. You know, and it takes that. You got to be willing to go. You got to be willing to take a chance. And if it ends badly, you got to be able to survive and live to fight another day. Yeah.
As we wrap up, we have one more question, and that's, what is the meaning of life to you?
As you get older, that changes. It changes a lot from when you're younger to you get older. Mm-hmm. Now, like I was saying, when I was younger, it was all about making the businesses grow, making this happen, make that happen, tangible things. As you get older, you want to be closer to your family. The life, I started going to church and never went to church when I was younger. You know, you start having faith in God, and life changes. And as you get older, if you're smart, you'll change. You know, it's never one meaning, one brick. It evolves. Yeah. And my grandpa Marshall was that way, and I seen what he meant. I didn't know it when I was younger, but I see it now, because he was a big bad Bill. Big truck driver, fought and carried on, drunk liquor and everything. When he died, he was a born-again Christian, one of the best men ever. You know, he done that before, when I was a little boy. He didn't just do it when he was close to death. He started in his late 30s or 40s, transitioned into a real good man. Always a real good caregiver, though, for his family, provider. I got 2 totally different groups from my grandparents on both sides. Both Crowders are business people, and then but on the other side's the Keiths, and that's the side of the family. I take my dad; they're all dark complected, skinny, and beautiful. You know, they're all. And the Keiths are great big burly men. They're Pikins, and I found out I was double I forget, my 87th great grandpa on one side and 83rd on the other great grandpas are Ragnar Lepperbrook. The Keiths go straight all the way. Their name changed to Keith from Lepperbrook all the way down. So I'm Viking on one side completely, and then on the Marshall side I had a little of the Viking. Then on the Crowder side it's all American Indian and English. But if you notice my Crowder, they're like my dad, all they're dark complected and different, like the Crowders. But I got that business from they're all good businessmen. They're all real calculating businessmen, the Crowders are. The Keiths are good business people too, but I got that. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm ready to go. Let's do something. Whatever we're doing, let's do it. You know, we go do this. We're thinking about this. We're going to do this tomorrow and that the next day. You know, Crowders are more meticulous. You know, I don't know if you know, they owned all the paving companies and all that stuff. And that's my grandpa's side. He was one of the original Crowders. And my dad didn't want to go to work for him because they only paid $2 an hour back in the 60s. So he went out on his own. He went to another company. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell on that.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. It's been an enjoyable journey hearing about your life story, and we really appreciate you giving us your time today.
That was, I didn't know what y'all was wanting to talk to me about. This turned out to be real good.
Yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate it.